two.
Well, hey all, and welcome back. And look what I just got in from Showsz store. I got a number 57 Manhunter. This is from 57 Toys. You may know them from Armored Puppets. Now, Armored Puppets were these cool little model kits. We'll go into those in a little bit. However, I saw pictures of this, and I just thought it looked awesome. That said, I don't entirely know what we're getting into, so we're all going to find out together. But the pictures I'd seen are the shark modes. What I don't know, based off of their previous line, is if you can build different configurations with one body or if there's more in here. The box is quite a bit bigger than the Armored Puppet line. It is actually interesting. They seem to have dropped Armored Puppet, so this may not even fall into that line. And it's a model kit. So let's go ahead and get open and see what we got. So looks like we've got quite a few parts in here. This is a pretty big kit. Okay, so we have unpainted shark heads and a bunch more joints and weapons and stuff like that. And then we have painted shark heads. So that's actually pretty cool that you have such a variety of stuff to work with. So we have, at the very least, one shark that we can make with this with 3 different heads. And we have additional heads that we can customize and some sort of mouthpiece. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And then we have the instructions. So I'm going to go ahead and put this thing together, and we'll come back and see if it's worthy of our collection. And here we have him fully assembled out of the box, straight build. And I'm blown away. For the price, not being much more than the Armored Puppets, this was so much more of a build that was so involved, and there's so many things here. So let's go ahead and get into what we have. Before I put the head on and what all this does, let's get into what we have. So we have a base, which the Armored Puppet comes with one. Here's the one that came with my Armored Puppet. Same size base. The only difference is this extra top part, and of course, different molding. But they come with parts to snap them together. So you can set up a whole chain of these bases. So that's pretty cool. He is pretty tight in here. Even with this thing being raised, he does fit pretty hard in there. So, you know, whatever. And then we've got these spare heads, which I'm not going to even bother with because we have fully painted ones here. And I still have stuff I have not cut off. This is all different accessories to extend the bases and stands and some joints. So this is one thing of note. The only pieces we've not used are on here, and this is a spare piece here. But these two here are for transformation. So they're actually the ankles down here. It's a special one for standing, which has sort of a brace in it. And you part swap these other ones in here for the transform mode. I don't think it might be necessary. I'm going to see if I can transform without it. But just beware that there is some parts forming for that one specific part. In addition to that, we've got the 3 heads. Let's get some closer detail of that. We have a closed great white. I like how the eye is painted white. I mean, the detail is really, really nice on here. Much more than expected considering that nothing else is painted, and especially with their other kits. Then we have the same head with a more angry open mouth version. Paint is pretty good. There's the one spot where there's like a tooth. You can always say the tooth is either knocked out or he's got blood on it. A little bit garish on the back. And then we have the hammerhead, which is, they're such great designs. I kind of wish I had 2 so I could have two versions of that just because I like the head so much. But it's really cool we can swap them out. Then there's bonus parts that weren't even on the box. There was a separate set of instructions here with extra parts. And what we have here, we have a little pack that I guess you can shoot harpoons out of. And you could put some string on those or whatever. But they're not, I don't believe, designed for him. Now, this handle here looks like it could be held by something, but the hands on the Armored Puppet don't fit it. But it does have this backpack, or this peg here, which could go in the backpack of an Armored Puppet or on the arm or whatever. But I do find that the handle here, and the same thing for this one. So we have this actually pretty complex piece here because it has all these little components that come apart to make like more kind of like torpedoes, which is pretty cool. But we have this handle, And I'm not entirely sure what this handle is about because it does not fit the hand of an armored puppet. And his hands aren't really good for holding things. Like, he's got actually 4 different arms here. These can be pulled out to become hands, and we have these, but they don't really grip it very well. So unless there's something I'm missing, and I might find more as I'm exploring this piece, these aren't really handheld weapons, but they do have pegs on them. And with the hard points he has, you could add it on there as just an extra weapon. But it's just a cool thing, I think, that's included. And the last thing, and I'll just show you the instructions because I'm not going to put together, is we have this little mine here, and it comes with a wire and a base, so you can take the wire and have it set up where it's almost like it's floating in the display. So that's a pretty cool add-on. I mean, I wasn't expecting that, and that's just something extra that they threw in. It makes this an even better value than I expected because we're only talking like $5 or more than a regular armored puppet, and we're getting so much more mass. And we'll compare those here in a moment. So let's go ahead and try out a couple heads. Try this one out first. It just snaps on. And there we have our hammerhead. It's got so much character. I think that's really cool. Now let's go ahead and pop it off. Comes off pretty easy. And I'm going to use the closed mouth shark. This is the one I'm probably going to stick with for the most part. There we go. And it locks in there. That is a little bit more fitting, I feel like. I think they both look good. But this one, I don't know. It's just something really great. And the build overall, very intuitive, very good build. The only thing I'll have a note is, like, say, for example, in the tail, you have these pins you have to put in. And they're a bit tricky. They're a little softer than I like. And you just have to be careful with it. And it's a little concerning, but I did make it work. And the other thing of note here is this final piece of plastic on the tailpiece was really hard to get together. I haven't quite gotten it fully closed up, and I think what I might actually do is take it off and see if I can shave a little bit of the peg and maybe if there's any kind of flash in there. That was really the only extremely challenging part of this, but the rest was just a fun build. It was lots of great color separation, lots of great moving parts. And we can go ahead and look at the articulation here. On each foot, there are 3 toes that are posable. We have a ball joint at the ankle, and there's another ball joint at the top of the ankle, so it's double jointed there. The difference on these ankles, there's an ankle piece you can actually swap out. This one has a little brace here that's supposed to help it for standing. And then we go further up the leg, and there's another joint at the lower part of the thigh. There's the thigh itself, which is on a ball joint. There's a rotation at the hip, or thigh rotation. Then we have waist rotation and a little bit of waggle. It's a ball joint, but there's not a lot of movement because it's kind of flat edges in there. And then on the tail, we have some side-to-side movement, up and down. We have a ball joint in the shoulder. We have another shoulder joint here. Rotation of the bicep, elbow joint. And then here we have 3 fingers that are posable. And the same thing for this other thing here. They both condense or compact into these sort of like turbines, which is pretty cool, and you can swap them out, and so they each become a different kind of arm. So this has a whole set of other arm articulation that replaces that when you swap them out. Now, this is what I think is really cool. On top of all that is we have 2 sets of torso articulation. So we have where the head is, that moves up and down, and then in the waist area, see if I can move the arm out of the way so you can see it, there's a whole other section that can move in and out. So you can have him swimming straight ahead, and there's actually a mode that's designed for that where he turns into like a little submarine kind of guy. And this is just really well put together. It's a really cool articulation. It's a great idea. I really am taken back by this because it's so much more than I was expecting. Visually, the style of the mech is really cool. I mean, the part separation is great. This is a straight build, and I do plan on coming back and actually doing a little bit of panel lining. I think that's really all it needs. Doesn't need any paint. Just a few areas where these nice details that are molded into it could use a little bit of marker or whatever to help bring them out. And let's talk about the aesthetic. The shark face itself, really nicely detailed. Very, has this realistic look to it where we have this softer, more mechanical body that's connected to it. And there's a nice color scheme here. We have the blue of the shark that goes into the darker blue for contrast, and these grays, as well as these lighter blues to break it up, some white, and a good contrasting orange. So overall, a lot of colors to go through, lots of separation. For the most part, this is a really nice looking, creative, cool mech. And other than needing a little bit of panel lining, I think I'm pretty happy with it as is. Now, I might go through here and add a little bit of glue to some pieces, like on the tail. Some of these pieces here, they seem a little bit flimsy. Maybe this piece here on the forearm. But for the most part, this guy, the articulation's great. The aesthetic is really good. The mechanical is really good. The build itself is really good. Some nice accessories. Oh, and for comparison, we really need to see what he looks like next to an armored puppet. Now let's go ahead and compare Manhunter to the standard figure in the armored puppet line. So as you can see here, quite a bit difference in mass. Seriously, for just a few dollars more, I really think this is a very good value for what you're getting. These are pretty cool. They're very posable. They're very customizable. As you can see, it's still fairly basic in comparison if you look at the detail, but there is a lot of molded details in here. And I've actually given this a little bit of a brown panel liner wash that allows it to really pop some of these details a little bit better. Otherwise, it's just sort of a soft gray plastic, and it's fine for what it is. But I do enjoy it. The one thing I'll know is this does come apart a little bit easier. It's a little bit more finicky as far as a figure goes. And even though I like the design, I did not enjoy the build as much. This is far more comparable to a regular, Gundam or something, like a HG or something, where this is just sort of a fun little desk toy. Now this is cool, and I do like that we have the hard points on here where we can actually peg this on. And I was looking through their product guide, and even though this handle here on this weapon isn't compatible with Manhunter or the Armored Puppet line, it looks like it actually might fit the frogs that are coming out. The frogs have a different type of hand, and I was looking close to the picture, and it looks like the handles may be similar. I'm not sure for certain, but that might be where this is applicable. It is unfortunate that they're not really usable between these figures, but at least there's hard points on here to where you can utilize them. But that said, I think these are really cool. They do work well enough together. The action bases are a nice touch. But let's go ahead and look at the other modes of this mech. And so to quickly show off submarine mode, all it is you fold the arms up, which is pretty cool, push them backwards, fold the legs up, fold the toes up, and you're done. And you have this pretty cool sort of underwater pursuit mode. I really dig it. I think that's pretty cool. Now, it does suggest replacing the ankles with another piece for this. I don't like the idea of parts forming. The only thing I could see that might do is allow the foot to go up a little bit higher to where maybe it can rest on this, because otherwise it just wants to lean forward, and I think it kind of would anyway because of the weight of the front. So, and it goes to show, there's also some stands. There's not really any peg holes like you would see like on a modern Transformer or SH Figure Arts figure or Gundam. So I'm not entirely sure how those would be utilized for it. You could probably use one of the hard points on the side or something. But that said, this is still a pretty cool mode. And I mean, transformation's really nothing to it. And here we have him in the other configuration where we're just swapping arms. And these little mandibles extend for the torpedo, flip around, and it's a pretty simple configuration, but it changes enough to where it's interesting. And these are meant for customization. So with the hard points and the different ways of doing them, you could probably come up with some interesting ideas just from combining parts alone. Now, the one thing that we said about that, the ball joint size on these are a bit smaller, so sadly you wouldn't be able to use these arms on here as a direct conversion, but there could still be some customization there as well. But yeah, I just love this. I think this is awesome. I may get more just so I can have some different configurations or customize them. You know, I kind of even look at it this is taking out the shark head and making a new little thing there. That would just be a cool mech on its own. They could probably do that and keep releasing these under different, you know, slightly different alterations, and I'd probably pick them up just because they're so cool. And one other thing that's pretty cool on here is the fact that on the arm you do have the hard point. So it is sort of like in this mode, he is holding the weapons. So he's definitely armored up for sure. But like I said, I got mine at Showsz store. Let us know in the comments below if you think this is worthy of your collection. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you all next time.